Yes, yes, yes. Oh, you know what that sound means. Time for In the Paddock F1. Greeny and the Cheese. Back after a 5-year hiatus. That's right, we're back in Shanghai for the Chinese Grand Prix. Did you know this, Michael? Shanghai is one of the world's major centers for finance, business, economics, research, science and technology, manufacturing, transportation, tourism, and culture. Did you know that, sir? It's got it all.
The future king of tourism of Shanghai might be sitting across from me over here. Excellent, sir. Let the Ministry of Tourism hear that one.
The port of Shanghai is also the world's busiest container port. Did you know that, sir?
I actually did know that one. Very busy. Very busy in Shanghai.
Very, very busy in Shanghai. And while you're there, maybe you want to check out New Garden, built in 1517. Has buildings there from the Ming Dynasty. That's a long time ago, sir. And maybe you want to take a little walk down the waterfront promenade, the Bund, as it runs along the Huangpu River. The Pearl Tower you might want to visit to get views of Shanghai. And hey, while you're there, you might as well go to Shanghai Disneyland. Check that out, of course. But this ain't no travel show. This is an F1 show. We're racing the Shanghai International Circuit. 3.38 miles, 16 corners, 2 DRS zones. You give it the full beans for 62% of your lap. And oh, what a weekend we got. I don't know, started off with, a Chinese dragon blowing fire, setting the grass on fire along the track. I don't know. Things are just igniting. They painted the track or something. I don't know what's going on. We had safety cars. We had great passing all the way through the field. Well, except really the front, because, Max just, as always, ran away with complete domination, takes the win. Lando takes second with a great drive from McLaren. Perez rounds out the podium. We're caffeinated. We're medicated, Greeny. Good day, sir.
What an introduction to what a week, man. What a weekend in China we had. It's been long coming, and the Slap City could continue here because some teams rose to the occasion and other teams, man, they could not afford an F up, and they did. The track is literally on fire. The grass is on fire. Turn 5 is on fire. I don't even know how the grass caught fire. I don't know. There must have been something under it. It must have been like whatever paint they were using. Someone must have just dumped it, right? Just like dumped it on the side. A bunch of years ago, I actually had my front walkway redone, and like it was done in like the fall, and then in the spring, when I was doing my spring cleanup, I realized that the guys had dumped like half of the concrete on the side of my house, which was great. Is it kind of like that, where like they just dumped the extra paint, flammable paint, and then there was a spark? I mean, listen, cars are going pretty fast. Sparks happen all the time. As Bruce Springsteen said, it only takes a can of a fire without a spark. And there it was, turn 5 in flames. The track was painted. Nobody knew the track would be painted. The little Shanghai surprise, as they say. Holy mother of Moses, you're lucky that we made it. That everyone made it out of there in one piece. We almost didn't. Lance Stroll is an absolute bonehead. We'll get to that. And Max wins again. Sergio does not finish second. Somehow Lando runs like the race of his life.
Yeah.
And comes in second somewhere halfway through the race when Sergio went in for that pit stop, like 1.9 second pit stop or whatever flaming hot fast pit stop they were doing, ends up behind Lando. Lando just does not yield that position for the rest of the race. Finishes second. Sergio finishes third. Ferraris have a little bit of a rough weekend. Quali was not in their favor, and finished the race fourth and fifth, just out of the podium spots. And Charles Leclerc beats Carlos Sainz for the first time all season. How do you feel about how the Chinese Grand Prix went down?
It was just an absolute wild weekend. dragons setting the track on fire or something. I don't know what the heck's going on there. That's madness. I've never seen the grass just catch fire randomly on the side of a racetrack. That's unbelievable. Max being absolutely dominant was not really a surprise. I think we discussed this the last show that we both kind of figured that was going to be the case. The Red Bulls would be strong in China. Perez struggling was a bit of a surprise, especially on that final stint there, not be able to close it on Lando. That was a major surprise. Maybe that paint helped the McLarens out. I mean, Lando said it in his post-race as well. Maybe, whatever they did to the tarmac, helped them out more than it helped out, other teams. Maybe it helped their tire deg. I don't know, but it also seemed that Lando was on it, committed this weekend, which some weekends he just doesn't seem to have that full commitment going on. I don't know if you agree with that. Some weekends it just seems he takes a little bit off. I mean, the mistake, he's going for it in the sprint race, so you can't say anything about that. I mean, you're going for it, and Lewis made a solid move there on him to, force him off a bit, but he also lost it himself trying to go around the outside there. But it was a really, solid big weekend for Norris. Maybe this is a, stepping stone for him with that kind of committed performance that he had, pretty much the whole weekend. Merck is a disaster. I mean, split setups, looked like they gave George Russell the more easier, let's just try and keep the car and let's give Lewis the more of the riskier setup to see if we can maybe learn something, and it backfired a bit. Well, it absolutely backfired for him for a bit.
Couldn't get out of Q1.
Yeah, couldn't get out of Q1.
After dominating the sprint race.
Yeah. I wouldn't say dominate the sprint race. But
in comparison for what's going on in Mercedes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a minute.
Ferrari struggled, I would say, all weekend, but points-wise, they still had more points than McLaren. With the sprint race and the race together, they still gained points on McLaren. So if you have that bad of a weekend and you're gaining points of the team that's behind you, I see that's probably a pretty good weekend then. If you're struggling with your setups in the car, because they were struggling with the setups all day on Friday, and the track setting on fire definitely didn't help that out at all. But you're gonna have a weekend like that, but you still got solid point gains, so take that and run. I mean, everybody knows that you have no chance on Red Bull, but you still have to keep pushing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Max can make a mistake.
And that's what I'll take out of the weekend.
Max can make a mistake at any time. It's going to happen a couple times a year. It's not going to happen. It's going to happen. Max is going to make a mistake, or there's going to be a mechanical failure or a mechanical situation. Obviously, we saw in the sprint race how I think he loved sitting back and forth and in fourth position and just watching the race unfold for the first 7-8 laps, and then just be like, okay, I'm going to be in first now, and just passes everyone and just ends up in first. I think he really enjoyed that. I think he missed that, and I think everyone was saying, why didn't Max just take first, 3 laps in, 4 laps in? I think he enjoyed sitting back, and I think he knew the entire time he could just take P1 whenever he felt like it, and he put himself in a position to pass. That was a fun sprint race, to be honest. There was a lot of competition there in the middle of the or fourth, fifth, sixth. Obviously, it's a short race, but you can see drivers were not giving it 110% in the sprint races they would in the regular race. We got another sprint race coming up, which, as I've said before, I dislike completely. I think it takes away from the race, and you're selling out. There's no reason to do it, but that's a whole other story for a whole other day. Max looked good, obviously, all weekend. Sergio, disappointing not coming in first, second. That was the first time all season that we have not had a 1-2 on the same team here, as it was Red Bull the first 3 times, Ferrari in Australia, and obviously Japan. And then now we have the first split team 1-2 with McLaren and Red Bull. So definitely a change of pace. Sergio, definitely, I don't know what happened there. Listen, it's really hard to get data as well with the track that you don't even know the substrate on the track going in. So the data points have to be frustrating for those who are collecting data on the shop side of things when you have a surface that you're not even sure why. The tire deg for Sergio's car was obviously way higher. And Fernando was complaining about it, the tire deg too, as he ended up, really should have been top 5, ended up 7th. Probably because of that, and almost crashed out at the end of the race as well.
That was because Aston Martin's just bonehead strategy there. I don't know what they were doing, throwing the softs on there middle of the race like that. I mean, he was
the only car on softs.
That was kind of ludicrous.
Yeah.
I mean, that also affected Ferrari's race too with these safety cars. I mean, Leclerc was going for the one stop and forcing other teams to kind of do that, but then safety car comes and everybody's back on the same schedule again. So, that affected the race as well. But it's the Max Verstappen show. That's just it. It's what it is. I mean, he's just out in front and he's just gone. I mean, he got in front of the sprint race and then 5 laps later he's 8 seconds up the road already.
Gone. I could not believe he won the sprint race by so much. I really couldn't. He absolutely, when he got in front, he dominated, and he was toying with the field. He could have went ahead at any time. When he just decided to take first around, I think it was lap 9 in the sprint race, he just took it, and I think they really didn't care. I don't think Red Bull cared where their starting position was in the wacky and wet situation you had for that qualifying. It was just weird. The whole weekend was weird. Weird.
Yeah, it happens when you start the weekend off in FP1 and the grass catches fire along the side of the track. Not once, twice, in 2 different spots.
It's a bad omen. I'm telling you, someone just shoveled crap in the lawn, and then there was a spark, and it went up. That's the only thing that makes sense. A spontaneous combustion multiple times in multiple places does not make very much sense to me. I don't know.
Other than an invisible Chinese dragon, I got nothing for you.
I got nothing for you. Got nothing. But the 2 things I learned today is obviously Max Verstappen is head and shoulders above every single other driver on the track, in the best car on the track, and Ferrari's clearly the second best team. Clearly the second best team, and I know Lando pulled off, I don't want to say a miracle, but a heck of a race this weekend, and a heck of a weekend, and you're going to see a lot of Ferrari on pole this year. A lot of Ferrari on pole, on podium this year. A lot. For sure. Because they're clearly the second best team. I think Mercedes, they need some whatever upgrades they're bringing or brought.
They need a lot of things.
They need a lot. They need a lot. And Aston Martin could be competitive, I think, with McLaren if they didn't have a bonehead as the second driver. And it shows now when you have a second driver that's weak. A second driver that's much weaker than the number one driver, when you have a situation where the garage makes mistakes or the team makes mistakes, which is going to happen, messes with strategy, does something incorrect, then your team really suffers and you have a really bad weekend. And Aston Martin should be, I think, the 3rd best team on the grid, but McLaren's going to take that for now. And Mercedes, I would say at this point, clearly the 5th best car on the grid.
That's fair.
I think clearly.
That's fair.
Listen.
Yeah.